Hello, this is Kid Cabello of Hard Lens Media. We are still covering the People's Summit here in my hometown city, Chicago, but I'm also joined by one of Chicago's very own, Jimmy Dore, the host of Aggressive Progressive, TYT Politics, and also the Jimmy Dore Show. You can see him on YouTube. He posts a lot of information on Twitter and has been an active voice for the progressive change. Jimmy Dore, thank you for joining us here today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I think this is, we need more things like this. You know, as Chomsky taught us, people who think like us, our opinions are not reflected in the media. So the idea is that we're the only ones thinking the things we're thinking. But it turns out we're not the only ones thinking the way we're thinking, that actually the majority of the country is progressive when polled about the issues. So people are progressive where it's time for a progressive change. We just saw what happened in the UK, right? So the neoliberals wanted to tell you that Brexit was all about racism and not about economics. They wanted to tell you that Trump was all about racism and not about economics, not about the fact that both political parties have turned their backs on workers. Both political parties are going after the same people, white-collared, Wall Street, Silicon Valley. That's not the base of the Democratic Party. That somebody needs to represent workers and students and the bottom 80% of income earners. You know, 50% of all people in the United States, all wage earners, earn less than $30,000. Right now, in the richest country the face of the earth has ever seen, we have booming stock market, corporate profits are at records, and still half the country's earning $30,000 or less. There's a problem with how we distribute the money in America, and someone smarter than me said that money is a lot like shit. If you stack it up on top of each other, it stinks. But if you spread it around, make stuff grow.
Exactly, but corporate media and the corporate Democrats definitely want to control the narrative that these elections are going to be about resisting Trump, resisting Trump, resisting Trump, all while pushing the issues like raising the minimum wage or universal health care or also protecting our environment are things that we will fight for later on. Essentially, how much does that damage the Democrats and as well as the credibility of our media?
So the neoliberals, or what I like to call the corporatists, the fake Democrats inside the Democratic Party, that's what they're pushing. They want you to just forget about every other issue and just focus on Trump. Well, Trump is a problem, but he is not the problem. He is a symptom of the problem. What is the problem? The problem is the Democratic Party no longer represents workers. The California Democratic Party just installed as their chairman a pharmaceutical lobbyist who beat back Bernie Sanders' cheaper drugs initiative last year in California. People literally working against cheaper drug prices are now the head of the Democratic Party in California. So if you watch the Democrats walking around here all seem a little bit more embarrassed than they did just a few weeks ago, and it's because they know their party is completely corrupted and it's time for a change.
All right, well, essentially, though, what's going to need to happen to rebuild the Democratic Party to the party that was known as FDR, who fought for, or FDR's political party, in which they were fighting for populist issues and social programs that were going to basically help Americans get out of depression, which they did do. What's going to be needed to reclaim that away from the corporatist Democrats or the influence of political families like the Clintons, for example?
So you need a charismatic leader who has a clear agenda. And we have one. It's called Bernie Sanders. He has a clear agenda. He's the most popular politician in the entire country. His agenda is the most popular agenda in the country. So we have that. Can we reform the Democratic Party from the inside? I don't think so. So I think I'm part of a thing called Draft Bernie. So we're trying to get Bernie to start a third party because all major change in America really has come from third parties. When Abraham Lincoln became the president, the Republican Party wasn't even a national party. They were a regional party, but they had the better ideas, right? So the better ideas win. So Bernie has the better ideas, and I think what either happens is the Democratic Party gets absorbed into Bernie's party, or they do the opposite. They completely adapt and absorb Bernie and the progressives, and they change as a party. But they can't be changed from within. They have to have an outside pressure. If during the 2016 general election, if everybody who agreed with a Green New Deal voted for the Green New Deal, we would have a radically different country right now, because that would have been 20 to 25% of the electorate. The Democrats would have got 20% of the electorate, and we would have been more popular than them, and the Democrats would have been either forced to change completely or be wiped out. But people got afraid, and they didn't vote their conscience, and they voted out of fear, and they voted out of hatred. And what do you get? If everybody would have voted for a Green New Deal, that believed in it, we still would have had Trump as president, except we'd have a radically different Democratic Party. So vote your conscience and stop voting for the lesser of two evil, because you just get more evil. Yet at some point you have to make a break.
And so essentially, though, third parties do have a challenge, especially at the state level and federal level, to get on the ballot. Take, for example, here in Illinois. If you're with a Green Party or Libertarian Party, you need 25,000 signatures to get on, and an additional 25,000 signatures just to make sure you're on there. But Democrat or Republican, you need about 3,000 to 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot. So essentially, what do people have to do to really make that kind of change? Because the states and running at a state level and federal level for third parties are huge. It's a huge uphill climb.
I think if Bernie makes the jump and he decides to do it, I think it will be easy. A lot easier. It won't be easy, but it'll be a lot easier to break those thresholds, those artificial barriers that they put in front of third parties to get access to the ballot. I think if Bernie's leading the charge, I think we've shown that he can motivate people, get people off the couch, and get people out to be activists. So I think it all hinges on that. And the thing about the Draft Bernie Party is that what you do is, what I've done and what we're asking people to do, is you go and you make a donation, but the donation doesn't get charged until Bernie says, yes, I'm going to do this. So we're trying to get as many people to have signed up to show, hey, look, we're ready for you, Bernie. We're ready to donate to you. And when he sees a big enough groundswell of people, hopefully that'll make him jump. He's already indicated that he's getting ready to give up on the Democratic Party. He's made lots of indications that way. So that's what I think would help. You're right. There are barriers to the third parties. You're correct, but I think that's how we overcome it, with a charismatic leader that everyone already agrees with.
Now, it's also quite clear that people are going to be reaching a breaking point with Trump's disastrous policies and the corporate Democrats really not essentially putting any form of resistance. So, long story short, we need a vibrant multi-party system. So what is your final message, and what do you want to really give to the people here at the People's Summit, and what do you think is basically the long-term message here?
The long-term message here is that change comes from the grassroots. It always has. It always will. You know, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were the last ones to the gay marriage party, right? That leadership does not come from the top. The leadership comes from the bottom. So that's what this is all about, and that's the message. And right now, Jeremy Corbyn just proved that we can beat back neoliberals. We can beat back corporatism. We can beat back the parasites that have taken over government and turned it from a democracy into an oligarchy. We literally live in an oligarchy right now. That's not hyperbole. That's Paul Krugman saying that, who was a Hillary supporter, says that we live in an oligarchy. So it's time to take our country back, and that's my message. Hey, it was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure to meet you, too. This is Kit Cabello with Chicago's very own Jimmy Dore. Peace, and let's all do what we can to build a better future, not only for ourselves, but for the next generation.